Darren, a quick video to show you the operations in the motorhome. Just above the entrance door, the habitation door, you'll find the 12 volt control panel. This controls all the 12 volt systems in the van. So we turn it on here. And it'll go through its loading process. So you can see the lights coming on there. It's showing the state of the leisure battery, the cab battery, the fresh water and the grey water. So these two, this one on the right, this one on the left, is telling you that both batteries are fully charged. Top left is the fresh water, which is showing empty. Top right, grey water, showing it's got a little bit of water in there. If you look at the main screen, LED screen here, you also see, bring it to life, you'll see a little electricity sign, a flash, like a lightning flash. That tells you that you're hooked up to the 240 volt system. If you weren't hooked up to the 240, that wouldn't show, but all the 12 volt systems would still work. So this essentially operates all the 12 volt system. So we can put the lights on, we can turn the pump on. So that enables the pump to pressurise the water system. So when you're using the taps or the flushing toilet, that needs to be on. And then that's essentially it. If you want to cycle through the different things, you can use this control knob here when you're into certain settings. But this essentially, just turn this on, put your pump on if you're using the water system. And if you want to check the water, you can do that. These sensors in the tanks aren't particularly accurate. You need to get in there and clean them often, but it gives a general idea usually. Okay. In the bottom of the wardrobe you'll find the main fuse board and the circuit breakers, just like you find at home in your home system, but the three little switches there are for the space heater, water heater and battery charger. They must all be on. Always keep the battery charger on, but if you're not using the space heater or the water heater, you can turn these off. But remember, if they are turned off, the control panel for the electric side of the water heater and the space heater won't work. It's also important not to put the water heater on when there's no water in the boiler. Moving on to the fridge, it's a three-way fridge. Basically means that it operates on gas, 240 volts, and it says battery, but it really means the alternator when the engine's running. So turn it on. Now you see what's happened there. This is an automatic fridge, so it's immediately picked up that it's got 240 volts plugged in, so it's on automatically to that. And it'll do that all the time. But if you want to use a different power source, you would just cycle through it here. Alternator or battery, obviously the engine's not running, so it wouldn't work on that. And that's the gas. If you wanted to run it on gas and not the 240 volts. Okay, and this is the temperature thermostat. And then it's just like your fridge at home. But remember, this has got to be put on. If you're running it from cold, it's got to be put on at least 4 to 6 hours before you want to use it. The battery side of it, running from the alternator, will only maintain the temperature you've created the day before. It won't cool it down from warm. So you put the fridge on first, then when you're travelling, it would switch to battery, and it will maintain that temperature until you got to site where you're going to plug in power and use it on 24 volts, sorry, 240 volts or gas. This is the boiler underneath the rear seats. It's important to remember that you must drain the boiler when you're not using the motor and there's any sign of frost. And if we look down there, we can see a yellow valve. That's in the horizontal position. That means it's closed. If we want to drain the boiler, we would flick that up to the vertical position, the water would drain from the boiler. Now, when using the hot water system, heating system, you must have water in the boiler before you put the heating elements on. Now, the way to find out if you've got water in the boiler is like this. Go to any tap, kitchen tap's best, and with the pump turned on, put the tap in a hot setting, turn it on, and if you've got a continuous flow of water like that, you know the boiler's full. It's now safe to put the heating of the water on, and you can hear the pump ticking away in the background. Okay. Hot water and heating within the cabin is controlled by the two switches behind the TV. The bottom switch is the power select or the power source selector, and the top switch is a switch that determines what you're going to do with that power. You're going to heat the water, heat the cabin space, or both. Now these switches are a little bit out of the way here, so I'm going to find it difficult to explain them to you. So I'm going to explain this with the help of a diagram. Okay, so the bottom switch is the selection of the fuel source, and you can see there's one little wavy line there, which is 1 kilowatt of electric, which is waste of time really. Two wavy lines is 2 kilowatts of electric. Flame on its own is gas. Flame and one squiggly line is obviously gas and 1 kilowatt electric, and the same with gas and 2 kilowatts of electric. So you'd put it on one of these selections. That's deciding which power source you're using. Then you're going to move to the top dial and determine what you're going to do with it. You can, it's the middle switch, the 0 is off. You can heat the water on its own at 40 degrees, or you can heat the water at 6 degrees. You may as well just put it on 6. The 40 will take forever. Okay, and then going down, the flame symbol this time denotes that it's heating within the cabin only. So if you just want to heat the space, it's the flame, and if you want to heat the water and the space inside, it's the 60 degrees and the flame. So flame and hot water is heating with the cabin and hot water. Flame on its own is just heating within the cabin, off switch, and the two selections of the degrees of heat. I would only put it on 60. Okay, and that's what it is.